rate how you think your defense has done through these first 3 games, and then maybe separate out the games and how you feel about it?
Yeah, I think obviously what's fresh in your mind is what you just played, and so just disappointed, not discouraged, but disappointed in the inability to get off the field and give our offense the ball back so we can go win the game. So that's just what we're supposed to do, and so that's the fresh response to that. Didn't feel like that. Just the execution to me in all 3 games. At times it's been good, but it's not been consistent enough for me and for obviously what we have to be able to have to be the defense that we want to be, and I believe that we can be. So I think that that's the focus for our guys right now, is being able to disrupt up front, tackle extremely well, and create takeaways. And we didn't get any takeaways in the last game, and that was a big issue that we needed. We needed that for our team, and I think that's a real focal point for me right now. We got 2 in the first game. We got 3 in the second game. Should have had 4 in the second game. And our goal is 3 a game, which I know is a high goal, but that's what our goal is. And we just need 1 in that one to get to be able to get off the field in those key situations and get those key stops. So, but when we think about each game, to me it was about. I thought we started strong. I do feel like in game 1, even in game 2, I want to see us play more guys. I just think it's healthy for everybody. I think it showed up a little bit in that third game in those last couple of drives. So I just think that's a big part of being able to have the depth that you want to finish games and then finish the season the way you want. And I've talked about that with our guys from day one. And part of that is us developing enough depth to be able to have guys that are ready to play in multiple positions to be able to allow that to be the case. And I'm a big believer in that. When you play a team like this coming up that plays a lot of tempo, gets a lot of snaps, averages, they've had over 90 snaps in a game and in the 80s for average. And so that to me is a big deal. And I think that kind of summarizes some things for me, because I want to be able to be at our best in the fourth quarter. And, we had a lead in this last game, and that's, to me, that's on us. That's on the defense to finish the game. And period, point blank, talk to our guys about that. We know that, talk about it even during that situation, during the game. And once we got the lead, then that's our responsibility to make sure that they don't score, we win the game. And so that's the mindset I want us to have. I want us to take pride in that as a defense. I want us to attack that. So we've been okay at times, not good enough, in my opinion, and did not play to the standard on Saturday. And so when you don't get the results that you're looking for, you continue to look at things and evaluate and just keep finding ways to make changes that are going to allow you to have better success next time. But I think our guys have played hard, and we've tackled well most of the time, but we did miss some key tackles in this last game. And so you can say that for each of the few in the first 2 games as well. It's not been a massive issue, but it's been to our standard. To me, it needs to be better, and that's all, especially in the perimeter. On the perimeter, and being more physical in that perimeter, to me, is just an edge you got to have and play with. So to overall summary is done some good things, but obviously not good enough. And we see that. We accept that as coaches, and it's our responsibility to get our guys in position to make those plays. And then when they do, they got to make them.
What's been your assessment of the flight linebacker, particularly as Sammy Wade have kind of shared the bulk of the snaps?
Yeah, they've done a really good job. I think that both times they've each kind of shared and having maybe a better game than the other, but none of them. But they've all played very solid football, and I want them to be elite. And I think they have the potential to be elite. I want to see us play some more guys there as well. I think that's healthy for a lot of reasons, a lot of things. But I think those 2 guys have played at a high level, and they're taking a lot of ownership of running the defense, and that continues to grow each and every game just because of the experience and understanding the system better, and then being able to articulate that to their teammates on the field and make checks and adjustments and just play with that total confidence to be able to, no matter what the offense does, that those guys can get us in the right call, get us in the right fit, get us in the right situation if we have a check or not. So very, very good. I'm pleased with Sammy and Wade. We just got to keep building, keep getting better.
On the defensive line, I think it's common for y'all to rotate after a couple plays. Is that given that LSU possessed the ball for so long in the second half? Troy, I think, had the ball 14 minutes in the last 2 drives, and then Georgia Tech. Is it producing the desired results up front?
Well, I will say this, and to the point, we want to be able to play. I've said it already. We want to be able to play a lot of guys, So when you sub them, sometimes it happens to be if they late sub, we will sub. We'll count that to be able to strategically utilize that component. But I think there's also just kind of a getting in a rhythm of how you want to get guys in and out. And so to me, I want guys obviously to play. We have a certain parameters for each position. We say, hey, this is an ideal number of plays that a guy can play. With this body weight and this type of guy. And how so we can play that level for 60 minutes. And so obviously the challenge is because you never know what's going to unfold in the second half. But you do need to be able to play, especially in the first half, play lots of guys and be able to get a good amount of guys reps. It obviously helps their talent and their technique be developed, and also allows our guys to get some good solid breaks. But yeah, we as a staff got to do a really good job and just continue to get better at making sure we got the right guys in there at the right time. But I am committed to playing a lot of guys because of what I've said. You play, the style of offense that we have, obviously when we're scoring points, you want to be, they may be explosive plays. You may be out there in a very efficient way, and so obviously, and sometimes they don't, and so you're still out there efficiently. So that's part of being built that way, and I think that's part of playing today's game and the way that it's played and the tempo that you play with and the style of play that you have. And so obviously, we've been out there too much. Sometimes it's just because we haven't gotten enough stops, so that's on us, So, but at the same time, that is the thought process of going into be able to say, okay, we got to make sure that we have our best players on the field at critical times and obviously at the end of the game.
The last couple of weeks, you've had a couple of communication issues, I guess, on the coaching staff, but it's allowed a big play to happen on the field. How have you addressed that? And is that something to do maybe because this is the first time you guys are working together, a lot of you, and you got a couple of young guys too out there that haven't maybe been down there on the field in that situation? Yeah,
I think the biggest thing has been, the young guys, being in the position for the first time. We got, a couple safeties that played a ton of reps. It was their first time starting. Obviously, a Tiger, it's a first time starting, and those situations, those opportunities come up, and obviously the players playing in a new system early in the season. I think that could be a variable as well. So, but I just think that we don't have a complex amount of checks in our system, but we do have some, and we do have some things that have happened at critical times where you got to be able to execute. And so I think part of it is kind of a combination of inexperienced guys and some because the safeties in our defense are a big part of what we do, and so they do communicate a lot and have to make adjustments. And not having Khalil, predominantly throughout the first 3 games has been a challenge in some ways, and so it's forced other guys to have to maybe be in more of a verbal role than they maybe might be prepared for in their development. So, but we got to, as coaches, do a great job with that and help with that. So, but I think it's a combination of both of those, and just being able to be confident in our checks and adjustments, because obviously it's those critical times when you got to be at your best, when you got to be able to, whether the crowd noise or whether it's the ability for us to, understand the formation and the motion and what they give us and be able to make those adjustments with confidence. And so I just expect that to get better and better.
Having guys on the field at the right time. I think the beginning of that 90-yard drive against Georgia Tech, I think it was the second string line. I mean, is that one of those situations?
Yeah, it's not really. That's where you don't really want to sub it to where it's first group, second group. It should be intermingled enough to be able to have that. And so that balance, I think, is something we got to make sure as a staff that's equaled out to where you have enough experienced guys out there. There's doubt the style of play that we were involved in allowed certain D linemen to be more of a positive for that style of offense we're playing against. So, but I think you want to do a good job of that. We're getting a lot of snaps from some key guys, and I thought Peter played too many snaps. And so for a guy that's 300+ pound guy, and so to me that's just part of us being able to. So when do you make those subs? That's the critical point to all that, and obviously you get a long drive and want to see us be able to, even in that situation, you have to sub your backers out, in a 10, 12, 14 play drive. You guy can't stay out there for 14 straight snaps, in my opinion. So that's something we got to get better at as a coaching staff, and that's my responsibility. And I think that we will for sure. But at the same time, I want to play these guys, and these guys work hard. They deserve to play, and now they got to perform. If they don't do their job when they're out there, then obviously you got to hold them accountable to that. But at the same time, I want to see us play. I have a good rotation of guys, play a lot of players, and let them have the opportunity to compete and play and help us win.
In your mind, and that's why some of those edge plays, perimeter plays are working because you're soft out there. Is that just, hey, that's all technique? Is it technique?
It's a lot of
attitude,
techniques.
or
I think
want
the
to? Is it both?
Yeah, I think, for instance, I can think a couple in my head right now. I can just visualize from the game to where it was the lack of reaction to either the call or the formation. To me, it's just you got to anticipate certain things. Now, we actually checked once a certain call that really, we worked on, and that was what we wanted to be in, and we didn't pull the trigger, from a certain one of our guys on the edge, and the guy playing a tiger position. So it's just you got to, and that confidence is created through repetition, through the ability to master the system, and just to be able to just have that confidence to pull the trigger and go when you see what your key gives you. And so I think that's, it's a combination of just, more playing time. We got some guys there that are just got to get better with their technique. And when you get better and when you're confident, you play more physical. So I don't think that they're, soft players. I think that the soft play is created sometimes with hesitancy and lack of just enough good reps of playing with confident, great physical technique. And so I expect us to play better in that area without question. But I think, to me, a lot of those we lost some leverage just because of being out of position, and it's hard to be able to set your edge in a certain call if you're not where you're supposed to be physically. Well, that goes back to anticipation of the formation, maybe emotion, the movement, setting it up, trying to disguise it at times. And to me, that's all part of it. So I think it's not a simple one thing creates it, but I do think that our guys will continue to play with more physicality, but we got to improve on the edge. There's no doubt about it. And the film is obvious at times on some of those. So, but to me, it's just about us continue, just like we just last night. You come back and man, you get to work, and you focus on what you do well, and you keep making adjustments, and then sometimes you make some personnel adjustments. You just try to find ways to continue to allow guys to be able to be put in position, and when they get in those spots, in those critical situations, they got to make plays.
Shelton, Lewis, and Khalil, Griffin, they have experience. I'm just curious, your evaluation for what's holding them back, I guess, from more playing.
Yeah, I think, Shelton had an injury, in the offseason and missed a lot. And then later in spring, actually both of them did. They missed the last part of spring, and then it ended into the summer, and then came back in training camp. And so, to me, still being brought back from those setbacks, and to be able to get the reps and the confidence once again to play in a new system. So, and I want to see, but we need both of those guys to continue to grow and develop, because they have played in the past, and they do give you a chance to give you some really, really high quality depth. There is what I would expect from them when they're in there, and they're just whenever you play, whether it's as a first, second, third, whatever it happens to be, when you're on that field, man, you're a starter. Starter mentality, starter execution, and those are two guys that we need to step up. But I think the injury set them back without question, and they both had post-spring surgeries, and just be able to go through those things. So I just think that that's kind of part of it. But at the same time, by week 3, week 4, I want those guys to be able to be in there, whatever part of the game happens to be, that they're helping us win the game at that point.
Coach, I'm not sure if you've seen, but the ACC is airing the conversations between officials on the field and the command center for people at home to actually hear the dialogue and hear what's happening. I know you guys have a great grasp of being there of what's going on, but for fans at home, how important is that maybe for fans to get a different perspective, feel like they're in the game like they were able to on Saturday against Georgia Tech?
I didn't really know any of that. Don't watch the games in that mode. Whatever you can do to help the fans feel more engaged, I think that's a positive thing for the game. I guess it depends on how you want to look at it, from how the call went. It may affect your opinion about what transpired. So can they actually hear the conversation of the officials?
Yeah.
Okay.
The dialogue.
Gotcha. So, that'd be interesting to hear in some situations for sure. But I think it's we coach a great game, we play a great game, and I think the more that you have an opportunity for people to get interaction with it and kind of get an inside look at how things are talked through, it also creates some accountability, for the people involved. I think that's a good thing, for all of us. And at the end of the day, everybody just wants the call to be called correctly, and I know it's obviously there's a huge perspective difference based on what glasses you're seeing it from, but at the same time, we want it to get called correctly. And so whatever we can do to create that helps that, I'm all for it.
I think Coach Sweeney said that T.J. Parker's played good, but it feels like there's another level and a lot with that defensive line in particular. So what have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, and to me, and it's one thing I will say too, when you have a talented group of guys, especially up front, and we experienced this a year ago, is that people are going to have a certain game plan for you. The goal is usually going to be to get the ball out quick, to where so they can't get to the quarterback, and you've seen a lot of examples of that, a lot of screens. And we went through and just went through all of our third down calls, and there's a lot of screens, and there's just a strong and very intentional desire to get rid of the ball fast in the quick game. So between those two components, and then running the ball sometimes on third downs, which is, that's affects your ability for those guys to make those game-changing type plays, sacks and TFLs. And so, but I do think there's another level for several of our guys to go to. And so to me, it's just about hey, every week you just continue to do things the correct way. You continue to evaluate yourself. You hold yourself to the standard of accountability, how you prepare, how you play. But sometimes plays come your way, sometimes they don't, based on how they're schematically attacking us and different things. So, but yeah, I'd like to see all those guys up front just take the game over, at critical times. And when you get late in the game, and to be able to the TFLs and the sacks and just end drives and create takeaways and allow you to be positioned to finish like you want to. And so I'd say the same for the linebackers and safeties and the corners and the Tigers, the guys that we feel like that are our best. But your best players, you want them to play their best football, And this stage of the season, we're getting ready for Game 4, and so that's what I expect our guys to do. We're now in to conference play completely here, and so the bottom line is I want those guys up front to be able to be playing their best football, and I expect them to. And so we got to do everything we can as coaches to put in those positions, and when we do, they got to respond.
You talked about not just depth, but developing depth. Where do you feel like you're at on the developing depth part, and what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think it needs to be advanced. I think that I want to see it linebacker. I want to see more guys playing there. I want to see it at safety. I want to see it at corner. We're still working through, the Tiger position, trying to figure out, the best combination there. But to me, I think that we have played a lot of guys on the D-line, which is a good thing, and that serves multiple purposes. But I can't say that for the case at safety and linebacker, and want to see more of that, and feel like I know we need that. That's going to help us, like I said, to finish games and to finish the season, and just obviously for overall development of your players. Allow them to be able to grow and see that progress. And I know everybody wants to play. We got a lot of guys that get a lot of practice reps and don't always get the same number of game reps that they prepare for, and sometimes that it's just the nature of the flow of the game, and sometimes it's the nature of how we're playing on defense and how we're playing as a team. So, but anytime you can play more guys, it's going to help you without question.
Khalil Barnes, where do you feel like he fits when and if you guys?
Yeah, we just obviously hope to get him back soon. Whenever that is, as soon as possible, and then we'll find out more this week. But special player. I mean, he just really fits. He's a safety for us. Obviously, he can play the Tiger position, can play safety position. Actually, can play all three. Came here as a corner and has that kind of skill set. But to me, really, the safety Tiger position is really where has a chance to help us the most. And to me, it's about when he is healthy to come back, to be able to get him worked back in there and be able to impact his team, because he really makes a difference from a communication perspective because of his experience, and he's really done a great job. I mean, I would say he knows the defense. I sit in all the meetings with him, and he's communicating at a high level, and so he understands. He studies film even when he's been out. He always knows every opponent, even though he's not expected to play the last couple of weeks, and so just really excited about getting him back when that time comes.
I guess going into camp before he got hurt early in camp, on your list of, as you're thinking to yourself, guys we can at least afford to lose, he would have been.
He was the top of the list. Yeah. Just because of what he can do, the position, to be able to have the experience, and with how we're built structurally and how we play the game in this system, is that guy is critical. He was So I just think that's it's been a tough blow for sure, and but he's working his tail off to get back.
You feel like you've done enough to affect the quarterback?
No, it's just, and especially this last game, just didn't get him off schedule. Obviously one guy really kind of, I thought they had two really talented running backs, and they really weren't a factor in the game, but the quarterback obviously was, and just got to get. But once again, the ball's coming out, and there's a lot of play action off of that on the throws, and you're trying to do different things. But yeah, we got to do a better job. It's been a big focus this week, and that's a big part of what we do. It's what we're all about, and we got to do as a staff, and then extension-wise, as the kids play, we got to affect these quarterbacks at a higher level and allow us to be able to be the kind of defense I know I expect us to be, and we're going to be.
How's TJ Parker going?
Yeah, we just got to me, it's just a matter of you just kind of look at things, even how we're playing certain, calls and adjust. So I want to allow his strengths to be magnified. So to me, it's about how we structurally play, and I will make some adjustments there to help him in that regard. And to me, we just got to do a good job of just, putting him in position. And obviously, he's got to win those one-on-ones when we put him in that spot. And that's what you try to do. You try to create a one-on-one matchup with him on one of their offensive linemen and or possibly a running back. And that to me is what we got to do, is really do a great job of creating those one-on-one situations, get more of those for him, and he's got to go win them.
I heard that back in Indiana, when you're reinforcing takeaways, you actually have like footballers mounted to the walls that people would have to swipe at.
Oh, yeah.
Have you done anything here in particular to?
Well, they're on the walls here, in the meeting rooms, and so it's just about making it all about the ball. And everything we do, we have takeaway circuits start every practice, and everything we do is about when we track the shots on goal every time we're striking at the ball, punching at the ball, raking at the ball. But once again, we didn't get any in this last weekend. So our meeting we had, first thing was, got to reemphasize takeaways, reemphasize the football. We got to get that ball from the offense. We got to knock it out of their hand. We got to be able to punch it, rake it, intercept it, scoop it. We got to get that football back for our offense so they can get in the rhythm and go score points.
Just a few more minutes, Coach.
Last year you moved from the field to the box. Do you still think the box is the right spot for you with this specific team?
I do. Yeah, it's just every situation is a little bit different, so, but, and if I ever get to the point and think it's not, then I'll make an adjustment. But at the same time, I feel like that we have a lot of strong leadership from our guys, and that's a big part of that, the ability for those guys on the field to be able to, just adjust. I will say this, we had the situation we call, the sudden change where we had to come back on the field and they had the ball, I think, on the plus 48 or 49, and man, what a great response. And so it's for moments like that, you want to make sure that you got the right mindset from your players, and I think we have a lot of maturity on our defense, and so I think that allows you to feel better about that, because I want to be in position to get the best call and make the best adjustments from that spot to see everything better. And so if I ever feel like that we're not getting to that point, if it's not allowing it to be our best, then I'll make an adjustment.
During preseason about being the best tackling team in the country, I guess, so far in 3 games. How would you assess the team tackle?
Well, we're not where we want to be. I still think that I think we've been a solid tackling team, but we've had some key misses. And so I get it. You're never going to make every single tackle. I mean, they got athletes too that are on scholarship and do some good things at this level. But at the same time, I want to continue to emphasize, like we have the guys that miss tackles. For every missed tackle in a game, you got an accountability for that on Monday night's practice, and that's what's happened last night. And guys have several reps on our, tackling, drills to be able to get those again, and that just never stops. And so there's practice accountability, there's game accountability, and so we're going to keep emphasizing it. We have a tackle circuit each and every week, and emphasize the positioning. We tackle with our DBs as much as we possibly can in practice, versus our scouts, and set up drills for that. So that's going to continue, and it'll be takeaways, tackling, and effort. So to me, it's been solid, but to me, it needs to be even better.
Take one more for Coach if I have one.
Sammy said that I guess it's 5 push-ups if they don't get the takeaway goal.
Yeah, so we have different takeaways. We have the takeaway goals for practice, and so if you don't get the goal in a game or in practice, it's 5 for everyone we don't get. And so we've gotten a lot in practice, and but yeah, we just whatever happens to be, it's more just it's a mental reality that, and certain things are more physically demanding than others. And once you get in the season, you're just more focused on trying to still make that a focal priority. But yeah, we just got whatever we do, everything we have is a standard. There's an accountability piece to go with if you don't meet the standard.
Coach, thank you for your time.
You're so welcome. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Go